Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. This episode of Getting Tabled is brought to you by Valhalla Hobby. Use code TABLE to get 5% off any order over $100, one use only. Please consider becoming a Patreon for $2 a month.
Brought to you by some guys on the internet.
This is Getting Tabled.
With your hosts Jason the Bruce,
You guy!
George the Yang,
I hope you are all entertained by my inaptitude.
Jason aka Major Socks.
We've been doing this and talking about various stuff. One of the stuff.
Now sit back, relax, and get tabled.
Hello, future people, and welcome to episode 135 of Getting Tabled with your host, the Bruce.
Hey, that'd be me. Yes, we're back with another episode, folks. And hey, I have a computer that works this time. Yay!
It's not shredded to pieces.
No, not at all. And I totally didn't spend the last 20 minutes setting everything up. This has all gone very smoothly today. We also have with us the main man, the real reason you're here. It's not
tonight.
true.
No,
But Socks is here. Aren't you,
I'm here.
Socks?
Yeah, yep, I am here. We have a bombshell that we're going to be discussing that happened just over a week ago.
Not
Yeah.
an actual bomb, just for clarification. It's not
Correct.
an actual explosive device.
Correct. And we got George, who's sweating to death in Wyoming because it got up to 80 degrees today.
So George is sweating to death and I'm freezing to death.
Yes.
You have no idea how hard it is for me not to put my hoodie back on. So yeah, this is going to be a pretty big one.
If it makes you feel any better, Bruce, we had the swamp cooler run today and it got so cold in the house. Casey did have to put a hoodie on.
Newly received or noteworthy information, especially about recent or important events.
We got a lot of news. Some of this.
Newly received or noteworthy information, especially about recent or important events.
How
Alright.
salty is Socks?
Very salty. But it's not just me. There's a huge community. So, yeah, what we're going to be discussing...
But there's something more important that we need to discuss before all of this, which is the fact that unfortunately I was right. I called this 2 months ago.
You were right. You were right.
I
So-
don't like the fact that I was right on this. I just kind of saw it coming.
And we'll
Anyway,
be discussing
yes.
this a little bit later in our game talk section. But last Thursday last week on the 13th, Asmodee and Atomic Mass Games announced two announcements that I'm going to be reading over about the discontinuation of X-Wing and Armada. So this is Atomic Mass Games. So after long and careful consideration, we're here today to announce the end of development on Star Wars X-Wing and Star Wars Armada. We're grateful for the community's passionate engagement and support over the past few years. Rising production costs, global manufacturing, and pandemic-related challenges have made it increasingly difficult to produce high-quality, pre-painted miniatures, which ultimately led to the decision to end development. Although development is ending, we're not stepping away from these games entirely. Atomic Mass Games will continue to support tournaments and organize play for both games with OP kits to be found in your local shops, culminating in the Open World Championship at Adepticon in March of 2025. Thank you for your continued support and dedication. And then on to Asmodee. We would like to take a moment to express our heartfelt appreciation to the Star Wars X-Wing and Star Wars Armada communities. While the development of these games is ending and we will have a limited quantity of product available for purchase while supplies last, the adventure is far from over. Sure, why not? We are here to support Atomic Mass Games through a farewell tour culminating in the Open World Championship at Adepticon in March 2025. This will be a fantastic opportunity for fans to enjoy these games to the fullest with our full support every step of the way. But that's not all. Our dedication to the Star Wars galaxy remains stronger than ever. We are thrilled to bring you new adventures with ongoing expansions and developments in both Star Wars Shatterpoint and Star Wars Legion. Thank you for being a part of our community. And then the community exploded.
Yeah. Which, to be fair, Asmodee was going to be expecting. Like, there's no way they thought this was going to go down well. It's just one of those things that like everybody knew how this was going to go. Like I said a minute ago, I called this. I saw this coming. In the case of, like, there's been a few times we've talked about the fact that they really weren't doing anything with Armada. And no, supporting a tournament randomly in the middle of things doesn't count as
Doesn't
supporting.
count as support.
They have done nothing with this since Atomic Mass Games took it over. And I think it's been quite deliberate. X-Wing had been struggling ever since the new edition, and there hasn't really been a lot in regards to releases. There has been some releases, but not many. I think the problem with X-Wing from an Asmodee perspective is that X-Wing had kind of had everything done. There wasn't really much left to do, releases-wise.
So to follow up on what you're just saying there, Bruce, both X-Wings and Armada, the problem with those games is the intellectual property, what you're pulling stuff from for the game, is finite. Because if you start randomly creating stuff, then you have the community that's just like, that's not canon. Because let's be honest, of all the communities out there, Star Wars is probably the most vital and toxic out there. And if you do something,
what are you talking about? Star Wars fans love when things are changed, especially if that change doesn't match up with previous canon.
Exactly. So that really hamstrings and hinders what you can do with those games.
Yeah.
I mean, sucks. Let's be honest. Beyond the initial release of Armada and all that stuff, what else was there really to do?
Oh no, Armada had heaps that they could have done. We just
scratched the surface in terms of what was actually available. I mean, we haven't even gotten into a lot of the Rebel stuff. We haven't gotten into.
Okay. Let me rephrase that. Beyond the initial release, what have they done that the fans, what had it been done that the fans really wanted? Let's put it that way. Because if you look at that way, you've got like all your capital class ships, and you've got like the fighters everyone knows about, and some of the mid-size stuff. Everything else is just obscure, super nerd, for the lack of a better word, nerd stuff.
The big one that hadn't been done is probably the prequels. Though the prequels didn't really have a lot of huge starship battles.
Yeah.
Beyond the one in the first movie. But there was enough that they could have drawn from and made money from.
Well, and Clone Wars. Like, that was a big part. That had a lot of stuff.
Clone Wars, actually, yes. There was definitely room for stuff in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But and every space combat game has this issue is once you get to a certain point, there's not much more else you can do.
I think to some extent, skirmish-sized games is an easier thing for a non-Games Workshop studio to achieve as well, because the output of costs is lower because you don't have to have as many ships. And getting rid of the pre-paint is always going to make things easier from a studio point of view.
But the problem there with that is that was part of the huge appeal to Armada and X-Wing was it was pre-painted.
I pull it out of the box, I can put it on the table right away.
Well, and for a lot of people, getting into the hobby, getting into the community, those types of games are super appealing because they can show up to the table with the same level of quality of stuff as the three of us who have been doing this for years, who, if we sat down, took the time, we could strip the paint off and probably get it painted up better than what the pre-paint was.
Yeah.
Not saying I would do that.
You don't even need to strip it. You could just paint over the top of it.
Yeah, I don't have time for that crap, but I could probably do a better job for sure, so.
Yeah, but you don't buy pre-painted minis because you expect them to be of a high level. You buy them so that you don't have to paint them.
Exactly.
And yes, I am calling people on that because that is one of the criticisms the game used to have very early on. Is that they're not painted to the level that I could. Well, they're not supposed to be. They're done in a factory.
Yeah.
As Sox kind of hinted at, we are going to be returning to this story later in Game Talk, just because we kind of feel that there is a larger side to the story that nobody's really talking about. So expect us to read through that again.
Yeah. I'm gonna throw one more bit out before we move on to the next story. I guarantee you the only reason why they're doing the Open World Championship in 2025 is hey, this is the last thing we're gonna do. Once this is done, it's done. Like they're using that as a hard cutoff.
Actually, to be fair, I think that's a good move. Like, it softens the blow a little bit, even though I really don't think it's worked. When you're putting an end to something, you're never going to get a positive response.
Mm-hmm.
But if you make a visual effort to at least celebrate it, which is obviously what they was hoping that was going to sound like, then at the very least, people were like, well, at least they appreciate us, is the idea. It's Warhammer Fantasy all over again.
I don't even think it's that. And we'll talk about that in the game talk section, but I don't think that's the reason why they're doing that, other than just to give it a hard finishing point. But we'll move on to the next topic, which is still arguably the biggest news of the year so far, with Warmahorde intellectual properties. You can now buy the stuff on the Steamforged Games storefront.
Yeah, at the point when we discussed this last time, the question that everybody was asking was, well, is this going to slow things down? What's actually going to happen? Is it going to go away for a while? No, there's literally been not a single breath and hesitation at all. They're straight into new releases. So this has been thoroughly planned from the start, way before it was public, obviously.
I mean, yeah, usually, big things like this, they don't happen overnight.
Nope.
So to see the immediate turnaround of, hey, we've bought this, and then, hey, now you can go to our store and buy it. Like,
unless, of course, you live in New Zealand or Australia. Which, honestly, I didn't even notice the first time I read this.
Well, and not just that, but they've got
why do we care?
5... What's that, Bruce?
I was going to say, why do we care about Australia and New Zealand? What do we care about them?
We don't really.
I mean, they do have a fairly large community here, but they have just said that shipping to Australia and New Zealand isn't possible right now, but we're working on getting domestic manufacturing in place so that we can... Which is odd, because it was previously available here, and Steamforged Games do ship here. So I don't quite understand why this is not available.
Interesting. But, I mean, they've got 5 months worth of planned releases.
Yeah.
So,
which is huge. Like, some of this stuff will have been in the works already, and it's just moved hands.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, like, I was genuinely expecting at least a few months before we would actually get an answer as to how this is going. This news, I think this came out a day or two after we recorded.
Well,
it's just insane.
This has to do a lot to speak of the maturity of Steamforged Games and their business model. Privateer Press, they had a great thing going. They threatened Games Workshop, but they never had a lot of the business savvy to keep it going, to keep that momentum, and to keep the community. Whereas Steamforged Games, obviously, they know how to do that. I mean, they had how many years of Guild Ball, and they said, okay, it's run its course, we're done with it now, and everyone's like, but no, it's so good. And they're like, this is all we planned it for. Sorry.
More.
Right? Well, they brought that back, and now they've got this, and they're just like, we know how to do this.
Yeah.
And if you look at the size of Guild Ball, God Tier, games like that, Warmahorde's just, it's that same size and scale of game that just, it's what they know. So I'm not too terribly surprised to see this rapid turnaround of the storefront being up on their site.
It just goes to show how long this was in the works, which is quite outstanding, because if something has been in the works for that long, you would have expected some sort of leak. Nobody was discussing the fact that this might have been getting sold. Yeah. Nobody knew about this until it happened. And I mean this quite literally. Nobody was talking about it. This news came out of literally nowhere, and it's very clearly been in the works for long enough that they had all of this in place before it happened and before it was announced. The outstanding thing about that is that means this discussion has been happening for quite literally many months. Like 6 to 8 months minimum would be my estimation, is how long this conversation's been going.
I would say, like, with the storefront going live, looks like the 12th of June. You could argue that the talks of this started happening the 12th of June last year.
Certainly possible. It has to be at least 6 months.
Oh,
Like when
for sure.
TT Combat bought, now granted, TT Combat is a much smaller company, but when they bought Hawk War Games, it was a few months before that went up on their website. And they had been talking for quite a while as well. It's not just as easy as I will flick a button and everything's on my website now.
Yeah.
You have to have manufacturing set up. You have to have stock in place ready to go.
Well,
Business is not as easy as people think it is.
to counter that with Privateer Press moving to the print on demand model.
True.
There may not need to be that in place with this because Steamforge Gauge bought it, and then there's still the print on demand service, and so there's no stock to build or move or anything. It's just print on demand ship.
Order comes in. Yep.
Yeah, so
no, that is actually a very good point. Moving on to our next story is actually like an actual story about new stuff. So yay! Wargames Atlantic have a lot of like really nice, I want to say cheap, low-cost miniatures. Cheap is not a good word to use. And we have some werewolves.
Where?
These are here, right here. So these are. They definitely look like retro type sculpts, but that is obviously deliberate if you look at them. I want to say over sculpted details in the muscle work, which for werewolves makes sense. I actually really like these. Like they're overly muscled. Like the faces are that weird half human, half wolf thing that always looks kind of odd in movies.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Everything else about these looks good except for that face. I don't like that.
I can't say it's my aesthetic either, but it's very clearly deliberate as opposed to accidental.
Yeah.
Like they have done this on purpose.
They should have just gone that extra step and gone for the underworld werewolf look where, is the very wolf face, with the snout and everything, and then just on the, the super ripped Mr. Olympus body.
Yeah.
Actually, in saying that, I think it might actually be the paint job that's the issue there.
I don't think, if you look at, there's not a lot of snout.
There's not. It's a very short
True.
nose.
Yeah, no, I go back to my original statement. This is deliberate. Yeah, I mean, it's going for a very specific look, which is fine. It'll either jump with you or it won't. Some people really like the retro type of sculpt, the old hammer type stuff, which is very clearly what this is leaning into.
Mm-hmm.
I think that probably the thing that jumps out to me, like the fur in certain places almost looks like leaves rather than fur.
Mm-hmm.
Which is because they've left it that you have to kind of paint the detail in. It's all done in clumps.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and from a sculpting standpoint, that's probably a lot easier than trying to sculpt an entire fur look.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Wargames Atlantic quite frequently release things that are technically older miniatures. Not always, but like there's quite a few things where it's like they've brought stuff back that used to be on the market. I don't know if this is one of them or not. I don't believe it is, but they tend to do that frequently. Yeah, they have another one which is called Sneakfeet, which is halflings, I want to say.
That's what
they're kind of old school stunties.
Well, if you look at the first close up, the very obviously has fur covered feet. So
that's true.
Yeah,
halfling it is,
and he's holding a frying pan for his second breakfast.
He's got 2 eggs, one for first breakfast, one for second.
I was gonna say those are some flippin' huge eggs. Then,
oh yeah, they're probably from aliens. But they are eggs. There is actually if you go across, there's actually a close-up of him. This is the standout for me. Like, these look phenomenal. The detail on these are great. I like when we get something that not everybody is doing. I'm not saying that nobody else has done halflings in space. We know that other people have. But I really like this. It's not something you see a lot of.
Rifles are as tall as them, if not taller,
Yep.
which is kind of comical too. That they're holding normal sized weaponry as halflings.
Like, the fact that you actually see the sprue as well is quite nice. 'Cause not everybody does that.
I would say that's probably the best part about looking at these kids is they show you the sprue and what everything it is you get.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you look at the first sprue, you also get to see the frying pan with eggs.
Yes.
Yep. It's 100% eggs, and you are right. I mean, they are huge eggs, but I don't have a problem with that. I think they look. It's been sculpted very well.
Maybe they're normal size, and just because everything else,
Because it's a halfling.
Because if you look at the rifle, that's like as big as they are, and then look at the eggs. I mean, that's not too terribly.
I will say this: that the grenades are bigger than they should be, but that's fine. It's just heroic scale. Everything's bigger than it should be.
Well, it's probably like a human-sized grenade.
I don't know. You look at it next to the rifles, and I think that's bigger than it should be.
No, not too terribly bigger.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I'm sorry. As the one of the three of us who's actually held and thrown grenades.
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting that I knew. I was asking a question.
No, I was also throwing shade at Socks there too.
Because I haven't. It would be fun, but I haven't.
Dude, let me tell you something.
You sit at a desk for a living.
Taking a baseball-sized object and hucking as far as you can, and then you feel that like thud come through the earth. Oh.
All right,
George used to throw grenades and do that sort of things. Socks has lived his entire life in a 6-star hotel and has never seen anything worse.
True.
So he admits it. After all these years, he finally admits it. All right, moving on to some Games Workshop stuff. There has actually been a few things out of Games Workshop over the last couple of weeks. Not a lot of it was really that interesting. This first one was all over social media the week that it got announced. Everybody was talking about this orc that is a thief that stole things, basically. And he just appeared in everything. I love his little satchel with all of the items that he's clearly stolen.
And his elven cloak.
It's just a lot of fun. I actually kind of like the fact that, like, when there's miniatures that they have teased previously, I like the fact that they show them off.
Oh, it's a banner, sorry.
So, oh, this is what we were talking about. Yes, the banner is. It is quite fun. I really, really like what they've done with this. It's a lot of fun. The next one kind of has me scratching my head. But
I was gonna say of the orc, the one thing I really like about it is how his face is very asymmetrical and disfigured.
Yeah,
like Peter Jackson did so well in his trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that nothing on this miniature looks like it goes together.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that is the way that it's painted, but he's wearing a banner for a cloak. The pouch doesn't look like it's one that he came with. The sword is very clearly somebody else's. The dagger is very clearly someone else's. The chainmail doesn't really look like it fits him. It's all stolen. It's great.
He's got one knee.
One knee
cover.
pad, yes.
Yeah.
Grieve.
Which is clearly not a knee pad. I love what they've done with this. I love a miniature that tells a story.
At least the boots are the same.
What are you talking about?
That's right.
Up next, we have the pre-order bonuses for Skaven Tide, and this is where I kind of go and shake my head a little bit. So, there is some nice stuff here. Like, the pre-order bonus, if you order it online through Warhammer.com or at a Warhammer Store's in-store console, you get 6 double-sided objective markers that you used to get quite frequently with this sort of stuff, and they don't really do as often anymore. They look quite nice. But you
They
only
do.
get them for that.
Which is
On the other... Yeah.
You can get stuff like this from third-party manufacturers that look
of course.
probably better for a fraction of the cost. This is the one thing that just irks me so bad about Games Workshop is
I'm not even close to the stuff that's going to irk us. It gets worse.
Well, okay, so
to be fair, this is free too.
Yeah, this is the tip of the iceberg. But it's just like, ooh, check out this shiny, cool, fancy that you can only get right now on this one thing right now. Oh, we have a website that's absolute garbage that we thought we were fixing the problem. We've only just made it worse. So only a smaller percentage of people can actually now get this.
Yep. And you will not be able to buy this afterwards. You have to do it beforehand. So if you desperately want these, please don't desperately want these. If you desperately want these, you have to buy them now.
Or buy them later at a 200% markup from a scalper who was able to, get on the website while no one else can.
I've said it once and I'm going to say it 1,000 more times. Never buy stuff from a scalper. If you have to wait, wait. Never pay scalper prices. It's not worth it. Don't support their business. Let them go out of business. Let them go broke for being that way. I will never support scalping. And if you want to argue with me about this in the comments, go for it. Bring it on. I will argue with you all day because you are wrong.
And you're not wrong. And the only way to put them out of business is for Games Workshop to stop doing this. Unfortunately,
people are stupid and people will not speak with their wallets.
Yep.
In Australia, we have a lot of problems at the moment with we're missing out on stuff. We're getting it 3 or 4 weeks later. We do get it, but it comes later, and that's because Games Workshop are having trouble keeping up with demand at the moment. I say that I'm convinced that they're doing it on purpose, but that's just my opinion. Games Workshop are leaning into the FOMO, which is only making this... When we were talking about the Crit stuff, I said 3 or 4 times that I was concerned that I was going to miss out. No, I didn't. It was actually really... I could still go and buy that box now if I wanted to. But at the time, I was very concerned because it was genuinely a thing that was happening quite regularly. And the scalpers were exploiting it because it was being made easy for them.
Because Crude is as popular as you thought it was going to be.
Pretty popular. I think they just made more of them than they thought they were going to need. Anyway. We also have a set of pins. They're meant to represent your command points, which is kind of a nice touch. And this is what you get if you buy this copy physically over the counter at a Warhammer store. So it's another option.
Yeah.
And then
a journal.
If you're... Sorry?
A journal. You get a notebook.
Yeah, this is where I was leading. If you're buying through an independent store, because Games Workshop make less money, they stick their middle finger up at you and tell you to go away and never come back. Because you get a book with a fancy cover that's not really a fancy cover. This is the cheapest looking bonus I have ever seen out of Games Workshop. So if you decide that you want to buy from your local independent store, rather than being ripped off at a Warhammer store, yeah, I said it. I mean, at least they're getting something. Quite frequently, the independents don't even get this. So, from that perspective, this is actually a better deal than they usually get. But independents won't even have the option of selling the other two. You would think that at least... because if they make more of them, then it's not as special, I guess. But if they really wanted to make money, why would they not turn around and go, okay, you're not going to get this for free, but you have this as a $30 add-on or something? Because people would be stupid enough to buy it. So yeah, this has just made me go into a rant. I mean, it's a nice looking book and all.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's a $2 book with a picture on it. If that.
Yep. We got some.
I will say this: I still think that Scaventide box is a gorgeous-looking box. I'm not buying it.
It's only because you love the Skaven.
Yep.
You're
100%.
You're a Skaven simp.
Yep. 100%. No apologies. You're not getting any apology for me.
Off to
But the-
GTC Studios or GCT Studios in Bushido.
Bruce is happy.
I may have a thing for GCT Studios.
These
All
are
right.
probably some of the coolest skeletons I've seen. Because they're
I
not
have
just
said this-
skeletons.
Yeah, I have said this before, and I will say it again. GCT Studios make my favorite skeletons on the market. And it's not even close. I love their skeletons that much. I mean, it's very unique aesthetic, which is why I like it. Like the mixture of the spirit and the skeleton is just awesome to me. You do get a bit of an idea here of how they work in Game 2. They're 6 rice each, so they're quite cheap. Bodyguard, durable, fear, immune, soulless, regenerate. I'm not going through the skills for everything. I really, really like these. They are stunning. Next up, we have Taburo the Unbreakable, which is their newest Oni, which is... I love this. They have weaponized a sign to kill people with. Like, what is not to like about this? I love how grotesque it is. It's just horrible in all of the right ways.
He's very Nurgle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm trying to see if it tells us what it's made out of. It doesn't, I don't think. I'm guessing that it's going to be resin by the look of it. But I don't know. There's a brief look at the card. It is quite an expensive one, 25 rice, so a brief look. Feel free to pause the video if you want. Next up we have... Oh, and he was from the Savage Wave, obviously. From the Silver Moon, we have Akuto, who is like just the most wholesome person you've ever seen, holding his knife up to his... just licking the tip of it. Like, he's so wholesome. He's totally not a corrupt businessman that's going to slice you in two. Why would you even think that? Yep. Akuto is 11 rice, so a little bit cheaper than the previous one. Again, here's the look at their cards. Do quite like that.
I like the next one better.
I agree. Atake?
Yeah, the bird people are always awesome. Haitake, yeah. So, another chicken man. Although it's not a chicken man. I don't
It's not a
actually
chicken,
know.
that's a
What
hawk.
sort of bird is it? It's a hawk?
hawk.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very hawk-like. It's very Kung
Bird
Fu
prey.
Panda-esque. No, cranes
don't
crane.
have a...
I said bird of prey.
Oh, bird of prey. I thought you said crane.
No, bird
Yeah.
of prey.
Yeah,
Hawk or eagle or something like that.
some sort of raptor.
Yep.
Yep. We don't have a look at the card for this one yet, so it hasn't been revealed publicly. It might potentially be on their Discord. I don't know. Yeah, gorgeous. Next up is Spectre, which is one of the new ninjas.
This
I
is
really
so
like the mask.
Stereotypical. It's good.
Yeah. The ninjas do tend to be, they do tend to be quite pricey. They are, they're very elite type miniatures. So you have less miniatures on the table, but they will do more things. It's one of those ones where you have to learn how to use them properly. So 20 rice, quite a lot of abilities on this one. He will work with friendly phantoms, which will be an interesting thing to see how that turns up. And then last but not least, we have Wolf Ryoshi. You can have one of two. These are archers. Ashigaru, 16 for both. So they're 8 each. You can't have one or the other. You have to have both, which is interesting. I don't know of any other miniatures that's done that in this game. I mean, having more is always good, but it means that you can't just, if you've got 8 rice left over, you can't just buy one of them. You'd have to spend it elsewhere.
That's probably why they're doing that, is so you can't just do something like that for just 8.
Yeah. Having options is good, but sometimes limiting things is better. It depends on what you're trying to get out of a miniature.
Yeah.
It's probably been priced accordingly as well.
For sure.
If you're going to make it, you have to have 2 of them, then you will take that into account when it comes to, like, you wouldn't have to have 2 of them and then they're 30 rice, because then that's kind of making them not fit as well at other times. Yeah, I really, really, really like what I see here. Wave after wave of the Bushido stuff, it just looks better and better and better. Socks. Which one's your favorite?
Hatake.
Hatake? I had a
Yeah,
feeling that was
Neil.
going to be the case. And I'm guessing that George is the same.
It is such a toss-up where literally I'd have to flip a coin over Hatake or Spectre. Like, I can't pick one, so you'd have to toss a coin for me, and like whatever is the winner.
Wherever it
then
lands.
that's, yeah.
For me, it's Spectre. Oh, I'm actually really struggling on this.
Right? That's why I said you just toss a coin for me and we'll call it good.
For me, it's either Spectre or Taburo. The Oni. I really love the skeletons, and they were almost going to be on there. But realistically, we've seen these skeletons before. I mean, not these ones, but we've seen versions of this done by them before. So I already know what they are. I already know that I love them. I mean, they are different ones of them, and it doesn't make them any lesser. But the other 2 are things that are, yeah. I don't dislike any of them, but yeah. You should play Bushido. It's a great game. Coming up next, we have Nightshift. So, this is a board game made by a company called Exotic Cancer. They are based in Australia. If you're someone that follows Whittle Goblin, then you will have seen that she did a video about this earlier in the week. I actually spoke about this game in October last year. You two may remember that I went to a convention for developers just before PAX, and I spoke about a game where you are dancers in a club, and I said that it's one of the best games I had played in a long time. This is that game. So this is actually developed by 2 people. Caitlin is the one that's done all of the artwork and so forth. She actually used to work in this industry, so she knows this industry very well. And this isn't just a game. I mean, it is a game, but this is a game with like a message too. Like, it's not just dirty, horrible places like you see in the movies. They are real people that work in these places, and like there are real dangers and stuff. A lot of this is known. It's not really talked about much. It's trying to get the message out there and actually have conversation about it. Each of the different characters have a miniature that's about 50 mil tall, so that's about just under 2 inches, just over 2 inches. It's around there somewhere. So you control one dancer. You have tables where there are people that are sitting at the table. You don't know who's at the table until you go to serve them. And so you may get like someone that's got a lot of money and is really easy to get, or you may get a card that's kind of a waste of your time, and there's elements of game in there. You're trying to get them into either the VIP room or the private room. And there's mini games inside the rooms about how to be successful. Trying to draw out what people want. The private room is where you make all of your money. The VIP room has a little bit of money too. You've also got a shift that you have to do on the main stage. This is a lot of fun. It's also a type of game that you don't see much of. Little Goblin in her video kind of said like everything is about war in games, which it is. Let's be fair. I have no problem with that. Neither did she. But it's kind of nice to see somebody trying to make a game out of something that has not been done. Also, as much as there's adult elements in this, it's not strictly inappropriate in any way. I mean, you could very easily make it inappropriate, obviously.
I mean,
there are customers that turn up that are very creepy. Sorry, what were you going to say, George?
I've just like I have never seen anything like this, and I've
Yeah.
seen my fair share of board games here of late, and this is just so weird. Not weird in a bad way. It's just weird of it's so off the beaten path of your
The
typical genre.
stereotype genre board game.
I like when there's a game that's trying to do something that's more than just about the game. Like if a game is trying to start conversations about stuff, there's a genuine argument to be made here that these sort of things could be just general conversation. Like the fact that people only know about these things through movies, kind of concerning in ways. Because that's where dangerous people come from, because they don't really know what they're going into. I like the fact the deluxe version of this feels so appropriate for the genre too. It's got a velvet interior, felt lined trays, the artwork in the box and so there's nothing. It's not you get miniatures or you don't get miniatures. It's just this is just a fancier version of the game. Also, I love the fact that these
foil
shoes apparently
edges
have
on all cards.
Yep. It's just a fancy version of the game. And the fact that it's a velvet lined box works so well. Also, I just want to say, my favorite element of this, it also comes in a discreet box sleeve. Which is hilarious if you know why they've done it. It can be delivered to your home very discreetly. It's brilliant. It's someone that understands the business from both sides. It's wonderful.
Worth pointing out here, it's a 1 to 5 player game, 40 to 90 minutes a game, ages 18 and over. 4 game modes: competitive, 2v2, co-op, and solo. So it's got everything. Because
if you're playing solo, then you're playing against a character called Diamond, who is strictly only for the solo mode. Each character has their own miniature. All of the miniatures are really nice, by the way. I have seen these in person. They are phenomenal. I love the fact that they all genuinely look like different people. It's not just cookie cutter female poses, but with different heads. Like they all have very different bodies, very different, and they all have one thing or another that stereotypically somebody is going to be into. Also, I love the fact that all of their names are very clearly stripper names.
Like the Shaltari ships.
Yep. I have
Hold on. Actually, just look at all these. All of those names are Shaltari ships.
Yes.
They are actually.
Including, hang on, one of these is one that isn't one of these the one that George doesn't like. Is Ruby the one that you don't like? What's the ship that you don't like? Or
The
is it the
Granite.
glass? Oh, the Granite. Okay. So no, none of these are the ones that George doesn't like. I highly recommend. Like I've played this. I helped playtest this at DevCon, and it was phenomenal. I highly recommend this. I mean, if you play with kids and that on a regular basis, this isn't something that you're going to be playing with those. So I have met both Ash and Caitlin. I don't know them. I have met them. There is a difference. Caitlin is doing all of the artwork and stuff, and Ash has done he's the numbers guy.
I am so tempted to just throw a buck at this, just to get the pledge manager when it opens, just to make the decision like, should I do this or not? This is just so out there. Like this.
If you're not sure, just go for the basic version of the game. Like you don't need the fancy one. Like for you, it's $80.
Yeah, I know. But I've got like a couple others that I'm still because of that stupid stretch pay that GameFound decided to start implementing. It's the worst thing
yes,
ever.
because that's totally their fault, isn't it, George?
Yeah, because if they didn't do it, I would have backed it. So
yeah, it's totally their fault, not your lack of self-control. I highly recommend this. Like I said, I've played it, so I have kind of I'm really keen for this.
Bruce, show me anyone in this hobby that has self-control.
Where's my camera? He's down there.
Because I'm about
He's
ready
down
to
there.
sell. I'm about ready
He
to
has
sell a whole bunch of stuff.
self-control. His self-control has a name. You have self-control. Your wife makes sure of it.
Until I sell a bunch of stuff and I have it sitting in my PayPal account and I'm just like, okay, what do I want? What do I want? What do I want? Because that's about what's going to happen when I get to when I move. I'll be sorting through all my Armada stuff and it's going for sale.
Fair enough. All right. Lieutenant Richard Winters.
You know who that
One
is?
of you's thrown this on. No, I don't know who this is.
Dick Winters from Band of Brothers.
There you go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it's the pose right before the assault the gun battery in the very first second episode.
And fun fact, I can't remember what battle it was, but it's like they make a big deal of the opening scene. I think it's halfway through the series, like episode 5 or 6, and it is the last time he fired his gun in the war.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And he went through the Battle of Bastogne without firing his weapon once. Which, if you know anything about history, that's damned impressive.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I threw this on here because kind of signify that I know it's a little late because this is put up right around D-Day, so it was the last recording was the D-Day stuff. But I saw this, I like tribute to him because I mean he is, if you've seen the series Band of Brothers, he's the most iconic character in the story and what he's did there for his men and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, we'll add this to it. So if you're a big bolt action U.S. paratrooper, 101st Airborne, go ahead and get this guy, this miniature, because it is a good looking miniature. I love his dog tags.
I get the whole, like, because George has this thing where he doesn't like it when there's a sculpted base that you can't remove. But I love the fact that this thing is on dog tags. It kind of makes me want dog tags under every hero. Because it's just such a cool concept.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't fit in any table because it's not supposed to. Because this is like display, obviously. Also, I love the fact that they've like just outright shown you exactly what colors that they've used and where.
Yeah.
Really simple paint job, and it really works. Yeah, no, I really like this. I think they've done really well. Oh, there's a charity model as well. Hang on, I'm going to click on that.
Where's
Cruel
the
Seas charity model? HMS Medusa Harbour Defence Motor Launch.
Oh,
the only survivor of almost 500 harbour defence motor launches built during the Second World War. So that's a fundraiser.
Yeah, it's a Cruel Seas model that you could use in your game.
And every model that you buy is a donation towards the Medusa Fund to keep it going, basically. They'd like to keep it restored and stuff. They do things like this on a semi-regular basis, and I really like that they do it.
Here's a fun factoid then for you, Bruce. Socks, you may know the answer to this. Bruce, do you know why the U.S. Navy owns a naval base in the middle of the United States that has no connection to any sort of waterway at all?
No.
Do you know, Socks?
They do submarine testing.
No.
there.
No.
Oh, you're talking in the middle. I was thinking of the one up in Idaho. They have a base
No.
up in the Idaho lakes that do sub testing.
It's in the middle of Indiana.
You're going to have to give us the answer, George.
It's an old growth oak forest for wood to maintain the USS Constitution.
Okay.
So the U.S. Navy is literally doing old growth forest conservation for the sheer purpose to maintain old oak growth to maintain the U.S.
For Ironsides. That's awesome.
to maintain the USS Constitution.
That's cool. That is really cool.
Surprised you didn't know that, Socks.
I didn't know that one. That is cool. All right, we got some indie.
Yep, let's do an indie.
Indie. Definition. Independent. Type. Slang word. Jargon.
148, or I-48, as I incorrectly have been calling it this for months at this point. It's a 1, Jason. It's not an I.
To be fair,
It looks like a 1.
it matters for this reason.
What did you say, George?
Font.
What matters?
Font
Font
matters.
Yeah. So, 148 is a skirmish-sized World War II game. I have played this and talked about this on the podcast a couple of times. But I kind of felt like it was time to actually talk about what this game is. So this is a very small creator based out of, I want to say Spain. Are they Spanish? I'm sure they're Spanish.
It is Euro figures, dollar figures, or Euro.
The first thing I want to show off, on the left-hand side, there's a quick start version of the rules. And I want you both to click on that and open it. Why did it
The
not open?
lavishly illustrated 60-page rulebook.
No, I want the document. What the hell's going on? Okay, fine. They've messed up on their website on me. This is annoying. That is supposed to give you access to the starter free download version of the rules. Aha. Okay. Scroll down to the bottom of that page. Yeah. And then you can download it.
Oh, okay, yep.
How's the old
And-
newspaper?
It's a newspaper. The quick start version of the rules is a two-sided newspaper. Sorry, no, it's one-sided.
One-sided.
And this is everything you need to know about how to play the game.
That's pretty spectacular.
It's something I have never seen done before. Like, including like artwork and stuff for things is all well and good. But they've literally gone to the point of making the rule set look like it's a page of a newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
It just works really, really well. Like you got down here, like what different symbols represent and what they mean, and so on and so forth. How the stat cards work. The stat cards are really, really simple. Not every character will have everything on them. So, for example, the arrow is move. So this character that they've used an example of can move 4. You've got opportunity fire, which is when somebody moves. Is that the one where you move within a certain distance? I forget. Suppression fire is, well, suppression fire. The dotted arrow is moving fire. And the last one is a leadership type one, command. So it's a really unique set. You do have, now, today, you have some German and some English soldiers. They used to have a free set of Russian soldiers that they don't offer anymore. I have played with the Russians because my friend that has this game got into it before they changed that. And quite frequently gets asked if you can share the Russians. You can't get the Russians anymore. It's all well and good. So this has been designed quite deliberately to either use your existing historical miniatures, or they do have miniatures of their own. And you can buy it whichever way you want. I'm just going to the Germans as an example, just purely because It's the one I clicked on. Actually, no. Let's go to the Americans. Let's just make George happy. We'll go to the Americans.
This is Army. I'm not happy with this.
That's fine. We're gonna click on the airborne just to annoy you more. And so this comes with all of the resin figures, the cards that you need for the figures. There's a limited edition metal set that you can buy, and there's kind of pictures down here that show you everything that comes with it. And in the case of the miniatures that you're buying from them, it's literally 3D sculpts of what's in the pictures. That is the thing I really like about this. Alternatively, you can buy a full deck of 60 cards to pretty much have any character that you would want.
Oh my goodness.
What have you just seen?
So if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you have PFC Jack Miller, faction U.S. Army Airborne.
Yeah.
That's Jack McNasty.
Who's Jack McNasty?
He's one of
on here.
He's one of the main characters. If World War II was a movie, he was a main character.
Okay.
Like, he could not be
Sorry,
killed.
I don't know American military history.
Well, this is European war history. So, but he could not be killed. He killed everything that got in his path. Everything that seemed insurmountable, he made it look easy. Like,
so this is one of the guys that they based the Catachans on.
Like when they stormed into Normandy, like he shaved a mohawk on his head and he started putting war paint on his face, and he was only a private because he kept screwing around and they would not promote him. And everyone that turned out to be just as much of a pile of crap as him, they gave to him to form his own unit. And say they all had mohawks and they all put face paint on when they're getting ready to parachute in for Normandy.
Know that these were based on real people. That's really cool. I'm guessing that most of these people are then.
Well, just look at this guy. He can't be anything but this guy.
Fair enough. If I just went back and I went to the other US infantry division, which is just giving you another idea of another box that's available. Otherwise, everything else is the same. It's just the
minis.
The minis have changed because it's a different set. I just want to scroll down. There's metal tokens that you can buy, which is literally grenades and bazooka shells and so on and so forth.
I will say the tokens on
so
this
much.
Are pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
As far as tokens go, like, how else do you do? Like, it's perfect.
If you click on the Russians, that's all taken down at the moment. It looks like they must be redoing the Russian sets. So I'll go back to the Germans, just because I want to look at more than one. I'm clicking on the Luftwaffe. So the Luftwaffe. And again, just genuine, gorgeous looking resin figures. That is 3D versions of what's on the cards. The boxes do come with like some terrain and stuff. It's a fairly simple setup, this game. It does come with cardboard versions of the tokens, but we've already seen the metal ones look much nicer. And I would imagine perhaps that these are real people as well. There's not as many individual characters available for sale on this set at this stage. But yeah. 148 plays really nicely. It's fairly small on the tabletop. We were playing on a 2x2 board. You really only have to have 3 or 4 pieces of terrain. We were playing with a quite heavy, dense terrain set because we kind of felt like it added something to it. But like everybody gets X amount of activations, and depending on how many people you've got left will depend on how much you've got to do. And it's really, really simple in a good way. This is an example of why I like the idea of a 4-person drop squad commander as opposed to 10 to 15, because you can do more with less. Because if you have less miniatures on the table, it could make for a shorter game, which means you can play more of it. Or it means that you can do more with those miniatures, one or the other, as
Mhm.
opposed to 10 to 15 where it becomes more about the group again.
Yeah.
I really, really like what they're doing here. It's really, really gorgeous. We have kind of looked at buying the card sets a number of times, and shipping to Australia from these guys specifically seems to be very expensive. I don't quite understand why, because Spain is not really an expensive place to ship from normally. But it's 30 euros for a deck as well, which is certainly not cheap, but it's a small business trying to make money. So it is what it is, which is all fine, honestly. I just thought this was worth looking at.
Pretty cool. I like the look of this. I would like it even more if they had in, the other two access powers, Italy and Japan, and then
I'd love to see them
Marines
expand into an Australian
specific.
force.
the Marines, the
Leader.
well, I was gonna say the 72nd Army Division, the old bastards.
These guys have not been doing this for decades. They are a fairly young company. So I would be surprised if we don't see more from these guys, but obviously they're doing it step by step.
Well, to be fair too, and Sox can attest to this, the concept of the war wasn't over until Japan surrendered does not exist in Europe. They think Hitler was defeated. That was the end of the war. They don't acknowledge the Pacific at all because they weren't affected. So,
hence why they don't have many games about the Pacific. All right, let's move on.
Dream, blue, prime, paint.
What have you been up to, George?
Traveling.
Did you enjoy your time away?
I went to a dog show and I actually showed the dog briefly for 3 days, and then I drove back.
Why didn't you show it for a longer time?
It's not my thing, and Casey was showing another dog, which she did exceptionally well on the first day, and she wanted her dog to be shown, and she said, "Can you please?" And I said, "Okay." To be fair, though, I did step in the confirmation arena, and I was wearing a Hawaiian shirt with a cat riding a Tyrannosaurus Rex holding an AR-15.
Okay, yeah, I like that shirt already.
They said casual, so I held them to it.
You went very casual.
Apparently he did. What about yourself, Socks? You've done all of your hobby, obviously. Like, all of it's been done in the last 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's all done. Absolutely. Yeah, no, nothing. Because I'm still living in an empty, robbed house. So, no, we're
You should have locked your doors, Socks. You should have locked your doors.
We should have. Absolutely. So, no, we'll be moving next weekend up to Alabama. We'll be getting all of our stuff on the 8th of June. So it's right before or right after our next recording. So hopefully I'll be able to get back into normalcy somewhat, depending on how much when school stuff is going to weigh on me in terms of work and stuff like that. So hopefully in the next couple months I'll have some stuff that I can show off more than just a few walls that's bare and empty.
I did do something. I don't know if you guys saw it. I don't know if you saw it, Socks. The Dystopian Wars community, someone was showing off their Scandinavian army.
Yeah.
And I had to ask him where the barcodes were. He has not acknowledged my comment.
Oh, that's funny.
Offensive.
What about you, Bruce?
I built a computer.
Well, yeah, you put it.
I built a desk. You know how IKEA instructions, like, you can build this in 20 minutes, and it usually takes 2 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Because what you can do assumes that you know exactly how it goes together, and it's not realistic.
Yeah.
So this desk, I can build in as little as 30 minutes. Would anybody like to guess how long it took?
3.5 hours.
Guess
Socks?
5.
Keep going.
Really?
12. 12?
I started at 8:30 in the morning. I didn't finish until 7 that night.
Holy moly!
Wow.
Yeah. To be fair, it's because I was taking so long trying to figure out what I was doing. And there's a couple of times where I put it together and then realized I missed something and had to pull it apart and do a certain part again. So I'm not I'm not having a go at Desky for their instructions. It's just that that's not the way it worked for me.
So I will cut you.
Also,
some
this
slack
was
on
out
this.
taking a break. I didn't eat all day. I didn't even notice.
I will cut you some slack there too, Bruce, because when I put my sit stand desk together, sit stand desks are a completely different creature of desk to put together.
Yeah, it really it took me a long time. I'm very, very grateful for that though. I mean, I just showed off the fact that it can go up and down on camera, obviously, because I did that deliberately to change the segment. I love this. I'm playing with this all the time. It's phenomenal. It's not overly noisy.
And there goes
We've
George.
lost
Bye bye,
George.
George.
George has been swallowed by the earth. My camera doesn't shake like George's does.
Your camera is not sitting on a 49 ultra wide monitor, which is on a single swing arm.
Fair enough. Mine is on like an actual arm that's bolted down and like ratcheted as tight as I can.
See, where's it? You can't. Oh, maybe. How do I turn this? There we go. Oh, wait, that's the wrong way.
I was gonna say, right, we saw it just briefly right there.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just on that single swing arm.
Fair enough.
And like I said, it's a 49 ultra wide, so it's pretty shaky.
I also got this recently. This is Death Wizards by Snarling Badger. We talked about this last episode. Was it last episode? Or the episode
Two
before?
episodes ago? Two to three ago, I think.
This is absolutely gorgeous. Artwork-wise. I mean, the front cover's really nice as well. We've seen that already. There's been a few of these small rulebook stuff that I've been getting lately for a few reasons. I mean, A, this sounds interesting. But also, it gives me ideas for, like, if I get to a point where I'm publishing this, I can get ideas of, look, I can achieve this. I know how I can do this. I know the sort of art that I want. So on and so forth. So I'm trying to deliberately try to pick up some things from like smaller creators to, support the creators because the game sounds interesting, but also to, steal ideas. Not mechanics wise, but like just layout wise and how things are going to look wise and so on and so forth.
I just want Socks to push the button on his desk now.
Oh, that was so much better than I thought it was going to be. I thought you were just going to kind of do this. Oh, dear. For those that don't know, not George. Socks is literally sitting at a plastic fold-up table.
There's the proof. Folds in the middle.
Yep. I have 4 of those in my garage. That's what my slot car's going on. Hobby-wise, I haven't really done a lot of hobby. I bought a few things. I bought a Blood Bowl team.
Which one?
Guess.
Chaos Dwarves?
No, because they haven't made them. One that we all really liked, including Socks.
So the gnomes?
Yay! It's the gnomes.
Nice.
I would grab them, but they're over there. I will unbox them for the channel. I have a plan, and I blame my friend Dave for this plan because he's the one that said it out loud. And I turned around and said, F you, Dave, because now I have to do it. I'm going to paint them up to look like Smurfs. It doesn't entirely work because only Papa Smurf had a beard and all of these guys have beards. I'm also probably going to mix up the blue and the white and red a little bit, just because otherwise it's not really going to look like a team. Yeah.
Well,
But that would just be inspired by.
To be fair, there were some other different Smurfs as far as hat colors. There's Grampy Smurf and another one I can't remember.
I remember Papa Smurf. I don't remember Grampy Smurf.
Yeah, he was old. He had a cane. He had a bigger beard, and I think it was yellow.
Interesting. Okay. I will have to keep that in mind.
But that's right up there with. I was looking at doing a kill team for 40K, and it was going to be red versus blue.
Nice. So yeah, I bought the gnome team and 2 of the gnome treemen because you can build them slightly differently. My original thought is I was going to build like the normal gnome treeman and then just buy the other treeman. But the other treeman for some reason is $15 more expensive, and I'm like, well, I'll just buy 2 of the same one then, and then just not put some of the branches on because that seems really easy to me. I also bought some undead stuff for Death Wizards because I'm going to build a thing for that. Because, I really needed more projects when I haven't finished Recruit yet.
Always.
Yep.
Hopefully I can get some more of my Recruit done this week. I've kind of been slack hobby-wise over the last couple of weeks. My attention has just been elsewhere. The fact that I was stressed out of my mind over my computer for 5 days probably didn't help because then I just wasn't in the mood for hobby. Even after it was all done, I was just kind of like, I was kind of just recovery mode for a little while. And yeah, I haven't really played anything either because everybody's been away.
So I did get a couple games. We had some house guests related to the whole dog show thing, and game I didn't know exists. The family-friendly version of Cards Against Humanity.
I'm guessing it's done by a third party.
No, same people.
Oh, wow.
But it's family-friendly.
How easy is it to make it not family-friendly anyway?
Very. Because it's still Cards Against Humanity, so...
To be fair, that is a game concept that should work even if it's not inappropriate.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I've seen at least 4 other knockoffs where it's the same concept and...
Oh, yeah, they've been getting ripped off from the moment the game came out.
But yeah, no, it's a family-friendly version of Cards Against Humanity. There's no swear words in it at all.
Disappointing.
But it doesn't mean you couldn't answer a question with the answer card of nipples and it was inappropriate.
Yeah. To be fair, something having swear words in it isn't what makes it offensive anyway. But there are some parents that'd be like, no, I don't want you swearing in front of my children. You can say anything you like, you're just not allowed to say the F word.
Should we go back to our game talk? To our previous...
Talk nerdy to me.
We all kind of hinted at this at the start, talking about our opening story. I'm going to return to that opening story now and just kind of remind you of what was said at the time. So, after long, careful consideration, we are here today to announce the end of development on Star Wars X-Wing and Star Wars Armada. We're grateful for the entire community's engagement and support over the past few years, raising production costs. We know what they're saying. We would like to take a moment to express a heartfelt appreciation to Star Wars X-Wing and Star Wars Armada communities whilst development on these games is ending, and we will have a limited quantity of product available for purchase while stocks last. The adventure is far from over. First things first, before we get into the actual story. This is the most PR legal team written statements I have ever read. They are so empty in what they say. Which is fine, because that's what you need to do for these sort of announcements.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is flavour here, but it's all Like they're talking about like the increased production costs and so forth, which means nothing and is it could even potentially be fictional. Because
Well,
I'm not saying it
So-
is, but it could be for all it really matters. Like because it's just such a hollow statement. But the actual
So-
subject we're talking about today, socks, is
The actual topic is investment and capital venture companies managing board game and miniature game designers. Asmodee is an
which
example.
is happening a lot.
Even though Asmodee is a sub-company to another venture capitalist.
So
As much as people give criticism to Games Workshop, they are literally a business that started from scratch to build into the monster that they are now. I'm not saying that that makes them innocent, because it certainly doesn't, but they are literally they started from the ground from scratch. It isn't to say that they don't have investment companies that are on their board of directors and stuff. I'm not saying that they have those, but this isn't a matter of this is a popular space, we should invest money here. And that's the difference.
So, and here's part of the reason why, and having dealt with buyouts by venture capitalists and stuff like that, the top percent in the venture capitalists are the only ones that get any sort of benefit from what the business does. And
Yeah.
they don't care about anyone or anything else as long as they make money. If they don't make money, then they don't do it anymore. So
Yep.
if Star Wars X-Wing and Armada, if they weren't performing because socks, were they paying any attention or doing anything with those games?
Zero
No.
for the
How
last
long
3
had
to
it
4
been
years.
since they released a product for Armada?
Well,
3
so
years?
Before
So
the
they weren't
merger of Atomic Mass Games and Fantasy Flight, between the separation. The Clone Wars stuff was the last stuff to get released.
So here goes my argument of, venture capitalists, they want to make money. That's their sole purpose of jumping money into it, is to get as much money out of it as they can.
Which is
And
fair.
which that's the concept of doing business, right? But
Yeah.
when you sit there and you don't do anything with a product or an intellectual property for 3 years and then go, this isn't making any money. Well, let's just discontinue it because it's not doing anything. You didn't do anything with it and expected all this out of it. They're like, that's the problem when you have someone who's not, they don't have their finger on the pulse of the community and what's going on. If they had even taken the time and done 2 releases a year, the game probably would have kept going.
So
Yeah.
here's
As far
the dates. So December 4th, 2020 was when Clone Wars for Armada was released.
Yep.
6 months later, June 13th, 2021, was when Atomic Mass Games
Took over.
took over. No, sorry, March. It was March. It was about a 3 months later. And they haven't done anything since December 4th, 2020. Almost.
And since they took over, when they were doing that, Legion was making money because it was the new hot thing, and they were producing, content for that. And they sat there on, Attack Wing and Armada. And then the new company came in, and they're like, "Oh, hey, this is making a little more money. Let's focus on this to keep pushing it." And then, time goes by. It's like, this isn't doing anything. Let's get rid of it. And that's part of the reason why. And the thing I was going to mention in the news that I said I would say for here, about how they're doing that, the tournament, Adepticon 2025, that's the cutoff, and then they're done. And what'd you say that was, Bruce? It was just like,
Farewell tour.
the farewell tour or anything.
Yeah.
They're
I'm
breaking
gonna-
easy with communities.
I'm gonna say, sure, it may look like that, and I guarantee you why they're doing that though. Because now they've put out the FOMO of, this game is dead, we're canceling it, we're not doing anything else. The last tournament we're sponsoring or doing anything with is this day, this time. If you don't, it's and that's it. So now they're banking on FOMO of the people who still have this game, still want to play this game, of shelling money to enter this tournament and play, and it's just going to add money to their pocketbook on a game they're not going to do anything with.
True. That is certainly a possibility.
I guarantee you that's the reason. They wouldn't do anything unless they were going to make money. That's what, these types of people do. Game wants to make money, so they're canceling it. They're going to hold this one big, large last tournament because they know it's going to make money.
I think that we're not really having an argument or a debate at this point. We're just talking. But if there was to be a debate about this, because this isn't really a discussion about should these companies be involved in the industry. They are involved in the industry. Whether you like that or not, it's completely irrelevant. Because here's the other side of the argument. In the case of a large part of this industry, without them it would be dead. Correct. With the exception of Games Workshop, most of the industry, to some extent, has come from this space. It's like video games. EA is this evil organization, right? They're not as evil as Blizzard Activision, or Activision specifically.
I was going to say Activision. Activision just leached the Blizzard name because they bought it and there was a good name, so they decided to use it to improve their image.
Yeah. But I mean, in that space, we get this discussion way more frequently because it's more obvious. Because every product that's being made in the AAA space is millions, if not billions of dollars. It's literally a space that could not exist without business capital investment.
Yeah.
Is the costs for tabletop gaming that high? No, but they are high enough that we can't afford to do it. Most everyday people couldn't afford to do it. I have seen a handful of people create a successful business. One of which is a business that we have spoken to and had interviews with in the past, which was the guy that did Bot War. Literally created a spin cast machine out of an old washing machine. It is possible, but it's extremely difficult. And most people that do try fall over trying. Asmodee being discussed in a way about how big they are. I don't think a lot of people even realize how large this company really is.
They own 21 different game studios. Catan, Days of Wonder, Fantasy Flight Games, Exploding Kittens, Atomic Mass Games, Lookout Games, Z-Man Games, just to name some of the popular ones that are out there. And there's 20 others or so.
GameGenic.
Yeah, all your card sleeves.
See, here's the thing because a lot of these companies are out there with the impression of being a small independent creator. Z-Man Games is the one that comes to mind for that. They have this image of being a small independent creator, which at one point they probably were before they were bought out. And I mean, that doesn't make it bad, but there is one company that owns a very large part of the board game market.
Well,
a scary amount.
I would just call it the gaming market because, I mean, when it comes down to it, everything's a Venn diagram, and there's a lot of people in the middle of that. You have your Games Workshop, which, yes, it's publicly traded. They have a board of directors, blah, blah, blah. But Games Workshop is still Games Workshop. It's just a massive behemoth. Then you have the Asmodee. Then you have the Wizards of the Coast, which is actually Hasbro, which that's a huge, gigantic gorilla in the room, too. I mean, when you get down to it, the concept of independent is
much
almost
than think.
Is
War Cradle Studios is owned by Wayland Games. Saying this out loud, that is not a secret. None of this is secret either. It's just that people don't know this stuff.
Yeah. So, and then they also bought out the largest online retailer here in the States, Miniature Market. So, which is what George mentioned earlier, off off the podcast that they are doing all the distribution support for CMON games now.
Yeah, they have the exclusive contract to do distribution for all of CMON, which they don't own CMON, but CMON's not a small company, and to have an exclusive contract to do the distribution, that's not a small contract.
No, not at all.
So
Not at all.
But yeah, it's unfortunately society has gotten to the point of, everything needs money to do anything. And that's not just gaming. I mean, we're talking about anything and everything. Sure, Elon Musk has done a whole bunch of stuff, but he's still got money from somewhere. It's called PayPal. He's gotten a whole crap load of money off that, and that's how he funded SpaceX and Tesla to where they were self-sufficient and started doing what they were doing. We can't escape it. I mean, I would say probably one of the smallest, what you could still call an independent game manufacturer, TT Combat.
Yeah.
I would agree.
I would say even Steamforge Games, because they're still, a small enough organization to not fall into that, just simply for the fact that, there's not, a stock for it. It's not publicly traded. It's not part of a conglomerate. Well, I don't know if Steamforge Games is part of a conglomeration. I don't think they are.
It
I would
might
even
be,
say-
but I've not heard that.
Yeah,
I would even say Warlord Games. Yes, they have a large range of various games, but they are a small company themselves too.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a smaller and smaller slice of the community that is this independent chunk, because as Atomic Mass Games and Asmodee, as they get bigger, they're going to absorb all the smallers, and the smallers are going to be like, yeah, because we're going to get a paycheck that we've been struggling for the last 10 years, and it's going to make everything easier because we have all these additional resources now. And I can't fault them for that. I mean,
No, not at all.
But I mean, Catan's a huge game, and it was before they were bought up by Asmodee. So it's surprising to see Days of Wonder was a huge publisher, still is a huge publisher of games, and having them fall under Asmodee. I mean, there's a lot of these big companies that were big before they even became part of Asmodee that are under this umbrella of Asmodee.
Asmodee kind of became a snowball coming down the hill. And this is a decade ago. Like when Atomic Mass Games was first opening their doors, there was a percentage of the community, and I'm not saying this part of the community is right. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just stating a fact. There was a part of the community that first response was, oh no, this is another Asmodee, I'm not interested. There is a part of the community that will instantly write something off just because there's a big company involved. Now, I don't think that's necessarily entirely fair, but I can understand where that mindset comes from. Because people have this idea that only the small guy is the important one, and then ironically go and support Games Workshop that owns 75% of the market, which I find hilarious. Because those people are the people that will go and support Games Workshop.
Well, my counter argument to that is, though, Games Workshop is still just Games Workshop, though.
Yeah.
So to harken back to the whole Blizzard Activision, right? Blizzard was a great company. Diablo, StarCraft, like those things were killer. Warcraft 3, they had the juggernaut that was World of Warcraft. And they were great games. I don't want to admit on a recording how much time I dumped into those games.
Would you like to know how much time I dumped into World of Warcraft? None, because I can't stand it.
I won't.
It doesn't make you a bad person for liking it. Or me a bad person for not liking it.
Yeah, well, but after Activision got involved, the quality fell off hard. Because what was Activision, concerned about? The bottom line.
Yeah.
And that's the big problem. Why do we have such great games from these small independents that, can make it? because the company is still focusing on the game and the quality of.
In this space, more so than any other, because I'm not saying that it doesn't exist in the video game world. It can, but in the side of a board game or a tabletop game, the industry's leaders and the projects that really tend to stand out are the ones where you can see the genuine passion coming out in the creators. Now, just because a creator is backed by a big business venture doesn't mean there is no passion there, because we have seen some Disney movies that are full of passion, and you don't get a bigger organization on the planet than Disney. Like there are people that are terrified of Disney because of how large they've become. But you can still get genuine passion projects out of companies like this.
Okay, but they're not as common.
No, they're not as common. No. But in the case of board games and war games, you see the passion more because it's a physical product. Whether that physical product is artwork that's on the page, or whether it's the miniature that's in your hand, you see the work that's gone into it. One of the big things that people argue about now is that we don't get enough of. Sorry, is that we're going to start getting too much of the AI stuff. Which I have two minds about. I mean, I have concerns about it. I've discussed my concerns about that very recently. I don't remember if it was last episode or the episode before. But at the same time, there is a very large percentage of the community that's just like, no, if there's AI involved, I won't touch it. Because people actually genuinely do care about artists in this space. There is a reason why the United States government are looking at AI and trying to figure out what they want the laws to be. There is a very big reason why that's a hot topic at the moment. And for the record, I wouldn't be expecting this to be sorted within the next 12 months. It's going to be taking another year or two before they actually put their foot down and say, no, this is where we draw the line now.
Yeah. Yeah, because go to Google and do a search now, and the first thing that comes up is an AI, response. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
As much as venture capitalists can solve and fix problems because they have money to throw at a problem to fix it, to try and make money, I also think they're not good for our community and our hobby because they're going to care more about a bottom line instead of the community that they've invaded. Because I guarantee you, if there's 100 venture capitalists throwing money, I guarantee you there's 2 of them that have a passion or an interest the way the community does.
Yeah. 100%. The lack of passion, and that's where I was getting to, is that passion is what you see, and you quite frequently see soulless products from larger organizations. Does that mean that they're bad? No. But, for example, Cards Against Humanity is a card game that would never have been made by a corporation like that. Because it's just not something they would risk their money on. There's too much risk in a risque, inappropriate game.
Yep.
It's the same reason why people never thought that Deadpool would be made. Fox wanted nothing to do with Deadpool. The only way that got made is because it accidentally got leaked on the internet to prove them wrong. That got made because they saw the outpour and then they saw the dollar signs on the wall. People forget about Deadpool became huge and overplayed and everything, according to some people, but Deadpool was never supposed to be made. Fox buried it on purpose. They wanted nothing to do with it. Some people were kind of worried that was going to happen with Disney. Like, Disney were never going to do that because they'd already seen the writing on the wall at that point. Deadpool's he's not the reason, but he's one of the reasons they wanted to get their properties back. Because X-Men is a huge franchise and they want a piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, for example, James Cameron, do you know how he pitched the sequel for Alien?
He just put an S on the end of the name.
He walked into the pitch room, right? You know, wrote on the board Alien and then a dollar sign behind it. That's how he got greenlit. You know, they're like, yeah, the first one made money. Go make more money. That's what we want. So don't get me wrong. I think Aliens 2 is a stronger movie than Alien. But again, when you start, you know, people who just care about money, you know, they're going to make cuts and decisions that
the board game community is not going to like. And we see that with what happened with 2 games that was loved by a huge community. And I'm part of some of those communities on Facebook. And it's been going back
very loud.
Well,
very loud.
And I will say, you know, the reason why they died is because, you know, there's the changing hands of the companies, and it was just like these 2 games got ignored, and it's just like, hey, these aren't making money. It's their own fault.
Yeah,
they weren't making money because they weren't doing any production, and that was even Fantasy Flight's fault. They had struggles with their own production, and so that it caused consternation in the community with the lack of release at that time.
Which goes back to who owns Fantasy Flight.
Asmodee.
But this is a problem with Fantasy Flight before they were bought out by Asmodee.
Right. So did Asmodee fix it? No, because it wasn't making money in the first place. They focused on what was making money.
There was a point in time where X-Wing was the number 2 game.
Oh yeah, I know. Was it a number 2 in its genre, or?
I just mean by size, like behind Games Workshop. It was X-Wing. Let me put it this way: there was a point in time where X-Wing was big enough to upset Warhammer players. And why do Warhammer players get upset? Because people are stealing their space that nobody else is allowed to use. Because how dare you play something that's not Warhammer? Like it's just a thing, unfortunately. In saying that, the other side of this argument is that the writing had been on the wall for this for a while. That doesn't make it a good thing, and I'm not defending the fact that they've killed it. I'm just acknowledging that, like, most of us knew this was coming a long time ago.
Yeah. I think I was, and I'm in the community.
I think I was the first one to say it out loud. I could be wrong, but I don't remember any of the larger creators saying it out loud. I'm pretty sure I was the first.
I think Sox was along there with you. I think he was just trying to be in a blissful
Sox agreed
denial.
with me, yeah.
But he was trying to be a blissful denial in hopes that his game would continue.
Yep, absolutely true.
How does it feel to be soaking wet now, Sox?
It's not fun because I have 4 boxes sitting over there full of stuff. Thousands and thousands of dollars probably of Armada stuff. I know it's thousands of dollars because...
I have bad news for you on that front. It's all such thousands of dollars of stuff that you're probably never going to be able to sell.
Actually,
he'll be able to sell it. He'll
You
be able
reckon?
to sell it, but it'll be for a fraction of what.
It'll be a fraction of what I've spent, absolutely. But there are people that are out there scrounging and trying to find this before product is completely gone.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, fair enough. In saying that, do you want to sell it? I'm guessing the answer is no. Oh, you do? Okay, fair enough.
Well, the
all of
agreement
it,
is
or
if-
just X-Wing?
I sold X-Wing a long time ago to get into Armada.
Okay.
So
Sox wants to get into Armor Clash, so he has to sell off Armada to get Armor Clash.
there's 3 games that I'm wanting to get into. Armor Clash is one of them.
But I'm right.
Drop Squad Commander. I almost said the other name. Drop Squad Commander is the second game.
Don't want to get cancelled again, Sox.
I know that. Hail Caesar Epic Wars. Their epic scale of Hail Caesar. The Roman
Don't you
game.
own a Oh no, you own the American.
I
Civil
own
War.
the Civil War, the American Civil
Yeah.
War. So
Yeah.
selling Armada will allow me to get my own capital investment into those 3 games. Especially since one of them is going to be a Kickstarter.
Just FYI, Socks, if you use that other name for Drop Squad Commander again, we'll just disconnect you from the channel.
Okay.
It is worth noting that on our YouTube, there is a video that calls Strike Team Commander. It's not publicly live yet, but it is there. I make this remark during the video that this is the only times that I'm ever going to call it that. And the reason I did is because those are the videos that I intend to go live when the campaign does. But I constantly refer to it as Drop Squad Commander. And then I make some remark about, I don't remember exactly what I say because I recorded this a while ago. But it's something along the lines of, just to be nice, I will call it by its wrong name of Strike Team Commander. Or something to that effect.
Because
And then I put the rest of the video.
Going back to me selling Armada, if I have the desire to play it, tabletop simulator, PC game has Armada.
Yep.
So I could go in there and pull up a digital board and I can play it if I wanted to.
Yeah. George, can we discuss some upcoming events?
Tournaments, demos, conventions, that kind of stuff.
And we're starting with the Melbourne Figures Painting Collective. Sorry, I've typed that wrong. It's happening next Sunday, 30th of June, from 12 till 5. I might actually be able to go to this one. I'm going to something the night before, though, so probably not.
Real quick, how do you think they would feel about changing it to the Melbourne Figures Painting Collective?
Probably... No, it is collective. I've written it wrong, I said.
Oh, it is collective. Okay.
That is what I said.
Okay. I'm reading collection. I'm like, collective would be better. That's like, the Borg.
Bruce,
I did say that out loud, didn't I, Socks?
You did. You just
George
gotta
just
remember.
isn't listening.
No, he's a Marine. That's why.
I was reading. I couldn't listen to you at the same time as I was reading. I can only do one thing at a time.
Marine.
George is pretending that he can read again. It takes place at the gaming arena, which is an awesome location. I don't know if I'm going, but this is the first occasion in a long time where I actually have an option to go. Because they tend to fall on our recording days, which makes it difficult.
You should go then.
It depends. I'm actually out the night before, so...
You should still go.
I know.
Still go.
Gen Con is coming up from the 1st of August till the 4th of August.
Never
and
heard
PAX
of it.
Oh, I'm surprised. It's like the biggest event in the globe. PAX Australia is happening from the 11th of October till my birthday on the 13th of October. And that's everything for the moment. I'm sure there's other events out there, but that's the ones I have on my list at this stage. Socks, where can people find us? Oh, no, sorry.
Valhalla
Thank you
Hobby.
very much to Valhalla Hobby.
They're a
People
sponsor of this episode and every episode. If you use code TABLED at checkout, you get $10 or no, 5% off, 10%, 5% off any order over $100. Located in Verona, Wisconsin, they do have a brick and mortar storefront. So if you're in the area, go ahead, pop in there, say hi. We heard about you from Getting Tabled. They would love to hear that. They'd also love it if you use the code at checkout because then they know that their support is worth their while. They got a great selection of games, anything from Bushido to I don't know.
Whatever.
Studios. They've got everything. They've got the big mainstream. They've got the stuff that's not mainstream. They've got paint collections galore. Whatever I've looked for, I have found it on their site, unless it's like really obscure, like I'm trying to find one specific paint from a set that I just want the one dropper. The owner's great. He's active in our chat community on Discord. He answers
Corrected me
questions.
recently.
he answers questions from the point of a brick and mortar store owner to us of, hey, this is what actually happens for us on our back end and what happens to you, the customer, which that's super great and awesome that he's willing to share that inside info. Support them. They support us.
Who was it recently that corrected me on accidentally saying that $30,000 was $50? Was it him or was that Shay? I don't remember.
I'm trying to remember.
I don't remember.
Somebody corrected me on Discord recently. I found it hilarious. So I think I know why Bruce struggles so much with the Australia tax. I had misspoken on an episode. I didn't even know that I'd done it, and this was like 2 months later or something. Anyway, Socks, where can people find us?
You can find us if you want to become a patron. Again, $2 a month. Support the channel. We appreciate it. You can find us there at patreon.com/gettingtabled. You do get early access to our recordings, and you guys also listen in while we record as well. Our website is gettingtabled.com. Our Facebook site is facebook.com/gettingtabled. We're the most active there out of all of our social media areas. youtube.com/gettingtabled. Again, please subscribe to our videos as well. Our email, if you want to email us, is gettingtabled@gmail.com. And then you can join our Discord as well. And the invite is in the description. And you can ask questions there about we have a full list of games in our channel that you can ask us questions back, and we'll get back to you through there as well. And then through X and Instagram, they're both at gettingtabled. And then Twitch is for the Bruce, his channel is twitch.tv/JasonTheBruce, and then his Toy Reel is youtube.com/toyreel.
Very well done. Thank you very much, Socks.
You're welcome.
Thank you, George. I guess.
Tuh. God, if a meme has taken the world by storm, jeez. No, it's great to sit down and do this after the craziness of my vacation. For those listening, I used air quotes there. It's great to sit down, talk to people about hobby stuff again.
Yes, indeed.
Yep, I need to get some done.
Me too.
Thank you very much.
I need all my stuff back.
Well, you'll have to talk to the... Look, I'm sure you've got connections. Talk to the guy that's in charge of logistics. He'll be able to help you.
I gotta get it to the new house first. It's kind of hard to...
What, you can't just stand in front of a mirror and talk to yourself about getting your stuff back?
I could.
well, first, Bruce, because he's going to Alabama, he has to learn how to play the banjo first.
Yes.
That is true. Yeah, you're not allowed to have any stuff until then. You should buy one before you leave and take it with you in the car.
Random fact: do you know who someone famous that plays the banjo? Oh crap! His name just escaped me now.
I have no idea.
I'm trying to think.
Billy Bob Thornton.
No, it's Steve Martin.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, they're cool.
I think it's Steve Martin.
The banjo is a cool instrument. But anyway, that's it. We're done. Play the thing, George.
I'll do the thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For listening to Getting Tabled. Music used in this podcast was created by Eric Matyas at soundimage.org.
Buy more games.
Yeah, do that.